You can support this show at patreon.com/ASAPodcasting. Welcome to a Skyrim Addict podcast, where I will discuss my adventures and misadventures through Skyrim. Join me. Add your stories, add your tales. Let's get into this thing. Welcome back. I still can't hear myself in my headphones, but it's Skyrim Addict Podcast, episode 158. I am here. I'm Michael, and I am joined by Victor.
Good evening, everybody.
And Steve, of course, Skyrim Book Club.
Good evening. I am sans camera because it's somewhere that a 6-year-old knows that I do not.
That's okay. Nobody's watching us live right now. I didn't have time to set it up, but I'll probably post the video for the patrons in the Patreon, so they'll have access to all the excitement that's going on camera. They didn't get shoe talk though, which was right before the show.
We can repeat that if you like.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know about ultras and hokas, we had a big deep dive into that right before the show.
If I'm broadcasting with talk shoe, and as such, we should not advertise for them. I'm teasing. I'm sure they would have. You had your chance to do a shoe show.
That is true. Would have been more appropriate. Big announcement, by the way. Murder, She Wrote is back on Amazon Prime. For anybody who hasn't seen it, it is a great show.
McGurd.
I watched the series like 2 years ago, the entire thing. It actually holds up pretty well.
I don't know. Binge watching Murder, She Wrote. It's like,
It was
okay.
It's yeah. It was It's
for me, it fell into one of those time slots. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, what's that? Oh, we lost you.
I interrupted you. I was just.
No. Go ahead. You fell into one of those
times. Sorry, man.
Yeah. It holds. Well, I mean, it doesn't hold up. It's a bizarre show if you watch it now. But
kinda,
yeah. There's a VR episode, so if you're into VR, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was real. The first strain of VR was.
Yeah. It's like a power glove and whatever else people use then.
Yeah.
Well, tonight we have some feedback. We have Kenneth's feedback. Nice, good, lengthy one about the story of his character. We have Michelle's feedback. Michelle was actually just on the Chatterbox with myself and Rob and Michaela, and we talked about what's that Marvel movie? Endgame. I had not seen it yet. Spoiler alert.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I don't know when I'll ever see it. So, but anyway, and Game of Thrones, which I did see. So we did talk about that. If you want to check that out. So I actually weirdly I hopped back into Blades today because I haven't played it for like 2 weeks.
Well, actually, you know what? Why don't we lead off with Michelle's feedback, because she talks about Blades.
Did she talk about Blades? Oh, perfect,
yeah.
perfect. Let me pull that up. That works out good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just open it on my phone. It'll be easier.
I'm sorry, that was a spoiler. Oh God.
We just spoiled everybody on Michelle's feedback.
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, I hadn't played it in a few weeks. While I was away. I don't know why. I just kind of faded off my radar. And actually, I was in areas where I didn't have any signal, so I couldn't have played anyway. But I did hop back in. Let's see. Here we go. Here is... Let me make sure my volume is all the way up. Michelle's feedback.
Hey guys, it's Michelle with my Hearthfire roundtable feedback. I apologize for sounding terrible. My allergies are definitely winning. It's part of the reason it's taken me so long to get this in. I'm trying to sound decent, and I just can't. I don't have a whole lot to add, so I'll keep this pretty quick. My character is Lyceria Hawkwing. She's a Breton conjurer. She rolled archery, conjuration, and pickpocket as her skills. Class is Thief Rogue, Steedstone. I have Proudspire Manor as my home, and my kid to adopt is Alisan. I also adopted Lucia from Whiterun. I've got health 2, magicka 1, and stamina 3, which honestly, I have to admit that I've kind of lost track of that. I just am mostly putting as much as I can in stamina. My humanoid follower is Adelasia Vendici, and I don't even know who that is, so I don't have her currently. I actually started out with Uthgerd the Unbroken, but she died, I think, during the Blessings of Nature quest, and now I have Janassa. I went with Uthgerd at first just because she's free. You just have to beat her in a fist fight, so that's, the way to go at the beginning when you have no money. My spouse is supposed to be Nyada Stonearm, who is with the Companions, and I'm not planning on doing the Companions quest, so I don't think that's going to happen. My faction is College of Winterhold, and I did already go through that College of Winterhold quest line. And my alignment is good, and my housecarl is Jordis. And honestly, most of the quests, I don't have a whole lot to add. You guys have really gone through pretty much all of that. I will say that the only thing that I did have happened is this is the first time I've ever kept Frost after the quest where you steal him. And he died right away as soon as I went on to the next quest, which is the tower that I did with Illyria in it. And so I ended up having to go back a whole bunch of saves to not have him be dead. And I felt really bad about it because I know he's like really aggressive, but I didn't realize that even while I was in the dungeon that he'd be out there aggressing on things and getting murdered. So now he's just hanging out at my stable in the Fall Creek house, and I've got my other horse with me because I don't want him to die again. The house, I went ahead and built it to be kind of the main house for my kids to be in. It's got the kitchen, the storage room, and the bedroom. And I honestly, I don't have a whole lot to add. I did want to mention that I have been playing Blades as well. And I think it's fun. It's totally unbalanced. I can't do anything because you can't get copper or iron in a decent way, which if I could just buy some copper with real money, I totally would. But it won't let me. So I'm hoping that, just with time and, all the money that people are probably sinking into it, they decide to make it better. Because I would spend money on it if they would let me spend money on the things that I actually want and need. But they won't, so I guess I'm not spending money right now. But I'm still doing it because it's a good time sink when you're sitting around with just your phone. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got. And I will talk to you later after the next set of quests.
All right. So quickly on the Blades thing. And then I guess we can go back to our Hearthfire stuff. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like, they need to just... I feel like they're really missing the mark with not being able to build stuff in town by making it so hard to get stuff.
I was wondering about that. Do you think like what she's talking about, not being able to buy, resources and stuff like that? Would that be considered pay to win in any way, or?
I guess so. I don't know. You're not really. I don't know, because you're not right now. You're not competing against anybody else.
Yeah.
So I don't. But I guess at some point there's that arena thing they haven't really unlocked yet. So I assume that's where you go against other people. But
yeah.
For me, like I feel like the thing is, they should be wanting to draw you into maintaining your town and improving your town, and without those things, the resources Michelle mentioned, you can't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even do the basics. Like, it takes me forever to build a house. It's like,
okay.
Well, I got to do 27 jobs to build a house.
Yeah, I haven't played it except for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes max when it first, so I have no frame of reference.
Yeah, I feel like the draw is the town, not the quests, because the quests are pretty. All the battles are kind of pretty similar because there's only so much. You can only do so much, really.
Yeah.
With the So I feel like the draw should be you being able to, expand your town, your village, whatever, build it to how you want. And if you can't get the resources reasonably, then that kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Michelle, I just want to say that don't worry about sounding bad because Michael was holding his phone up against the microphone, so it really does.
That is true. I was, yes.
And we just lost Steve.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
He dropped out. He was a little checking in, was going in and out.
Yeah.
Maybe it dropped off.
Yeah.
But yes, so we got her Hearthfire feedback.
Yeah, so beyond the Blades thing, what she said about the stats spread, I did the same thing. I always lose track.
I lose track too.
Yeah, it's like so it's like not even. So I totally feel her on that one. Adelasia is an employee of the East Empire Company, I think.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, she shows up somewhere on the docks in Solitude when I think when a certain quest fires, and I don't remember what it is. But yeah,
Is it the quest where you have to go through the warehouse?
Yeah, and I don't even remember her. I didn't even realize she was an actual, a follower you could pick up. I did
not know that either.
Yeah. So, and what else did she mention? Frost dying. I've totally lost track of that stuff because I have not played vanilla Skyrim in so long. I always have convenient horses, so the horses don't die, and or you can set them to die if you want, but I never do, and of course in my current Hearthfire playthrough, I lost Frost anyway. so Louis Latruche took him away.
Well, Frost is like uber aggressive, as we kind of mentioned on the last one.
Yeah.
Kind of gets in a fight with anything. Like if a butterfly flies by, it's pretty much it's on with Frost. So,
and there's a new because I am going to bring this up several times over this course of this episode, but mods, that is, there is a new texture for Frost that is really cool. Yeah. It's kind of a blue icy texture you can get it with vapor coming off of it or not. It's really nice. And there's also a new Shadowmere it's not Shadowmere, Arvak texture.
Okay.
It's really, really good. Yeah, it's really awesome. So anyway, sorry.
Interesting. Nice.
Yeah, I loaded immersive horses recently, and I really like the reskin on those. And as Victor's talking about, the ability to adjust their aggression levels and stuff, I really enjoyed that as well.
So I
think that might have caused a bit of trouble with my overall mod mix, but it's worth it.
Yeah, immersive horses is it's old and it hasn't been supported well, unfortunately. Have you used convenient horses? Yeah, well, let's not go there.
I've not. No.
I just found out my discs are degenerate today. So, have you used both convenient and immersive horses?
I've not tried convenient horses. I think I'm hearing myself through somebody's speaker, I think.
Not mine.
Or am I looping back on myself here? Oh, well. Anyways, there you go. There's a thunderstorm in Ottawa today, so it could just be spotty internet. But, anyways, to answer your questions, no, I haven't used convenient horses.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I love how she gets Lucia, because like Lucia gets me every time, or Lucia.
Yeah, so, I know.
Like I just oh honey, every time I want to keep her. Lots of the other orphans I don't, but I want to keep Lucia just about every time.
Really?
And props to Janassa too. Basically, my favorite companion when I'm not being encouraged to take a different one. She's just such a good mix. Like she will straight up murder anybody with the right weapon set. Morally, it doesn't matter if you're good. She doesn't sass you. If you go evil, she goes along with you. Yep. She's a bit melodramatic in some of her speeches, but pound for pound, just my favorite, because you can sneak alongside her, you can tank in front of her, you can mage behind her. I think she's fantastic.
I agree.
She's really.
Hannes has her and Goldear, and we'll hear, of course, Kenneth has been using Goldear too, and we'll hear that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Janasa. She's a great follower.
Another thing I noted is again, the combination of Steed Stone and Pickpocket, that has come up in a couple of sort of random rules for roundtable characters. Of course, I'm dealing with it as well. And that's a real nice combo. Like if she wanted to be a battle mage or something, you're not paying the price when you're pickpocketing, especially early. You really don't. It really makes up for it. So it's worth, Andrew has the Steed Stone and he's getting around to it the last time we talked, but with Pickpocket, I would go straight there every time for sure. It's been well worth it. So
yeah, with Pickpocket, definitely.
Yeah, I haven't used the Steed Stone. I don't think ever. Even with Andromeda, I haven't tried it out.
I think it's really powerful in an unmodded game in a couple of ways. I mean, the first what we're talking about is that if you've decided you want to sort of be a pickpocket, and it goes wrong, they try to stab you. So I mean, why not have heavier armor and nerf that consequence? But equally, again, if you're playing in an unmodded game, you're not on a PC, you're not going to mess with the settings. That 100 carry weight is not insignificant.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Especially depending on how you're using your money in the game, whether it's to build or you're crafting and you're trying to grab just like how do I put this? I can't think of the right way to say it, but you're gonna get a little more out of every dungeon.
Especially if you're running a really high stamina build, you're saying so you have a lot of carry weight.
Yeah, you stack those two things together, and I mean, you're gonna pay for your house a little bit faster in the Hearthfire roundtable terms. You're gonna just be a little bit more capable of crafting because, especially with enchanting, I don't know how Andrew's a wizard. I don't know how he runs it up in the first 7 minutes of every roundtable character he ever does. Because I just find that is such a bottleneck for purchasing stuff to disenchant. You get good loot, but purchasing soul gems, so on and so forth, right? So I can't do it nearly at the pace that he does it, but that benefit of the Standing Stone would let you carry much more stuff home, have a little more money. Fast track it a bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, that'll allow you to, that allows you to get pretty much alchemy, smithing, enchanting, pump them up because you can carry all those whatever ingredients or supplies that you're going to need to do those three things. And you can
it's astounding how fast the weight of flowers can add up if you're not really paying attention.
Yeah, when you look and you all of a sudden have 85 blue flowers or whatever.
I like her role, though. That Conjuration Archery combo is nice, too. What is it? Braylina does that?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that is a great combo. I've used that a lot in the past. Conjuration/archery. It's just...
Because it doesn't matter if you shoot them. It's not like it's Lydia, Yep. There's no emotional attachment to this dead zombie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's... Conjuration is a great... I like Conjuration with it. I like Illusion with it. Those are two good ones to pair with archery for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of archery talk on this show.
Come on, it's Skyrim. There's been a lot of archery talk since day 2. Because day 1, people figured out archery was OP. Day 2, we started talking about archery in Skyrim.
Yep, pretty much.
It's fantastic.
Well, speaking of OP, can we segue a little bit into Kenneth's feedback? Because he talks early on in his feedback. So let's
take a listen to it.
Yep.
Hello, ASAPodcast. Michael, Victor, Stephen, Ray, any of the other hosts that might be there. I am having a blast with this roundtable character, so much so that I had to call in sick today. To make sure I got my recording in. I've been working 70 hours a week at my job, so I haven't had a whole lot of Skyrim time. Plus, I have a wife. So, anyways, got a lot done here today. So, just a quick recap on my character. Grael is a wood elf, and his skills are archery, lockpicking, and restoration. So the lockpicking I'm pretty much using just for the bear traps, because I'm using the Ordinator perk. And archery, of course, those are the only 3 skills I've actually put anything into, except for alchemy. I did take enough perks to get the 4 ingredients in alchemy, which is fairly easy on the Ordinator skill tree. I think it's honestly a little too easy, because I think it's like level 25 or 30 you can get all 4 ingredients, which I I think that should be a little more challenging there. But other than that, a quick little recap on what you guys were given in the feedback last time. Victor, I love you. I put Hunterborn on, and I am never going to play without it. But also, Victor, I hate you because I'm playing a Green Pact Hunterborn, and what the heck? I realized my character, because of the game, has kind of now a half-ass follower of the Green Pact because he is not going to carry that much shit around. That's just insane. So I tend to do most of my hunting in cold environments where I can, quote-unquote, leave the meat in the snow for fellow travelers to come across. Might be a little more preserved that way. But no, it's been a lot of fun getting all the extra ingredients that you get out of the animals when you harvest the ingredients, the eyeballs and the teeth and whatnot. Definitely helps my role play as well as my gameplay. So thank you for that, Victor. And Steven was kind of nitpicking, but totally correctly, that the sneak ends up not being all that useful as you start to naturally level up as far as putting points into the sneak. And part of it might be the Ordinator with all of the advantages I get out of that with the archery skill tree, but my sneaky archer is doing fantastic as a sneaky archer without a single point in sneak. My sneak skill just passively has gotten up into the 70s now because of how much sneaking I do. So unless I'm shooting at like some kind of a high level guy, a bandit chief or something like that, or trolls or some of the hardier animals, I don't have any issues being a sneaky archer. And so I'm kind of glad I've discovered that now because, short of playing an actual thief or an assassin where you're sneaking closely around people, I'm not going to be wasting perk points now in the sneak tree. So once my archery and lock picking as far as traps and my restoration are maxed out in the areas I want to, then I'll start dabbling into other things, maybe like light armor and smithing with some of my perk points, enchanting as well. I do smith and enchant, but I don't put any points in it, so my stuff is kind of weak. But that's the beauty of playing with a character that is good at archery, but not good at smithing or enchanting. So, anyways, I'm gonna hop right into my character's journal. Last we left him off, he did the ancestral worship, helping clear that one tomb, and so here we go. As I set out from the Nord tomb, I hesitated. If I was to become known to the locals and buy property for the Aldmeri Dominion, I'd need to quit being reclusive and spend time with the Nords. So I went back and helped Gordor restore and clean his ancestor's tomb. After a day's work, we set out for Whiterun. I was saddened to inform Danica that I had failed to get sap from the Eldergleam tree. I didn't give all the details, in particular that I didn't finish because I would have to harm the tree, but she didn't press me further. She told me to keep Nettlebane with me, just in case I changed my mind. I doubted I would, since the only way to get the sap is to slice through the roots of the ancient tree. But I had a better use for Nettlebane anyways, to slice the throats of my enemies. Never again would that blade touch bark. It would only touch flesh. I decided to head back to Falkreath Forest. Goldir had not yet been there, so I was excited to show him the sights I had already seen, and explore new ones together. At one point we came across a wounded man, and I easily healed him of his injuries. Unfortunately, his people had ventured into a cave to kill some Spriggans in their quest for treasure. I sighed, and left them to fend for themselves. One night we came across a Nord named Froki, resting in his cabin in the forest. He could see I was a hunter, and asked if I had done kind sacred trials yet. I told him as a follower of the Green Pact I had not heard of them. He assured me plenty of people from other religions would still do the trials, which consisted of hunting down various legendary beasts and killing them. He gave me the locations of 3 of them, and told me to return to him once I had slain them. They were scattered around the countryside, and so I figured I wouldn't rush to get to them, but as I came across them in my travels, I would hunt them down. After a couple weeks exploring Falkreath Forest, we had returned to the city to sell some treasures we had found, and our efforts paid off. The Jarl of Falkreath, Sidger, had need of killing a bandit chief nearby. This should be the perfect opportunity to get property rights. Goldir and I went to the Jarl's court. What a pathetic man. His corrupt demeanor was on full display. He wanted the bandit leader dead because he had stopped his payments. Maybe I should kill the Jarl instead for being so disgraceful to his people. But first things first. I used some of my gold to upgrade Goldir's armor. He favored heavy armor and a battle axe, and I spared no expense getting him the best the local smiths had available. Then we set out for the bounty. The bandit chief was at a mine, a half-day's journey west. We easily killed the bandits outside. Most of them were scattered about, so we took our time as I killed them one by one with my bow. When we entered the mine itself, I was concerned there would be more men inside. But it was just the chief. I used poison-tipped arrows to slow him down, and Goldir charged straight into duel with him. It was an amazing duel to watch, so much so that I stopped firing arrows at the chief. Goldir did get hit a couple times, but his wounds were not too difficult for me to heal. Although I did realize it would be good for me to improve my restoration skills for healing others. Maybe I'd head to the College of Winterhold for that in the near future. We returned to Falkreath, and the Jarl paid us 1,000 gold. I offered Goldir his share of it, but he declined. He said the armor and battle axe I'd already purchased for him had cost over 500 as was. But he'd definitely take half of any other bounties going forward. The honor amongst Nords like Goldir certainly offset the dishonor of Jarls like Sidgir. The Jarl told us to speak to his steward to purchase a house. Unfortunately, there wasn't any available in the city, but there was one near the lake a half-day to the east. Maybe that would be better for the Aldmeri Dominion, to have property in the countryside. Goldir and I set out for the house. It was a small cabin, and from the appearance had not been lived in for some time. It took a day to get cleaned up and repaired. I fully furnished it to be a comfortable home. Its location was perfect as well. It was surrounded by trees and a hill, so it was not easy to see. The back of the home opened up to a larger plot of land, big enough for a full-size manor, although I doubted I would ever remodel this home to any bigger than it was. The lake towards the back would be a perfect escape route for Thalmor agents, since there was a river flowing out of the lake down towards Riverwood and Whiterun Hold. By this time we had spent over a month in Falkreath, and decided it would be best to chain things up. Talk of the Civil War and dragons kept coming up, so maybe I should head back to Whiterun to see if there's anything useful I can do there. When I returned to Whiterun, the city was abuzz with the talk of a dragon. It had been several weeks since I had seen the dark dragon near Helgen. I didn't know much, but maybe what I did know could be of use to the Jarl. After telling him about the dragon, he referred me to his court wizard, Farengr. The wizard needed help finding a stone, a unique dragon scone, in Bleak Falls Barrow, a massive tomb. Considering our experience in Goldir's family tomb, I figured it would be easy enough. The tomb was already occupied by bandits by the time we got there. We easily killed the ones outside and a couple just inside the entrance. At one point, we heard the voice of someone calling out for help. We cautiously proceeded forward and had a massive spider drop down from the ceiling at us. After killing it, we found the source of the voice, a dark elf named Arvel, stuck in a spider's web. He offered to help us find some treasure if we cut him down. It was obvious he was the bandit leader, but since the web he was in blocked our path, I had to oblige. He immediately took off running further into the tomb, screaming how he'd never share the treasure. I went to chase after him. He afraid knows I could catch him. But Goldir held me back, silently shaking his head with a smile. I smiled too as I realized what he knew was going to happen. Draugr. We slowly followed after Arvel, and sure enough, the sounds of battle and screams echoed back towards us. By the time we found him, he was already dead, with a couple weakened Draugr nearby, and a couple dead ones on the ground. Well, dead again, or dead twice. Do you kill Draugr? Or does killing Draugr mean they've died twice? That sounds like a philosophical conversation to have over a mug of skooma. I'm going to have to find a Khajiit. Anyways, we found a golden sculpture in Arvel's hand, shaped like a dragon claw. We took it with us, as it was obviously of great value, but not just for gold. We discovered it had a key code on the back for an ancient Nord door. I asked Goldir why the ancient Nords would be so dumb as to put the key code on the key itself. He looked me square in the eye and said, "The lock is not for the living." We entered through the massive tomb door into the final room of the barrow. A lone sarcophagus lay on a raised platform, with a huge wall behind it. Ancient words were written all over the wall. I felt something pulling me to the wall, but I was not sure what the source was. Guldir startled me, having grabbed my shoulder, and pointed to a chest. We found the stone tablet we needed for the court wizard. Not a moment later, the lid on the sarcophagus blasted off, and a lone Draugr emerged. The fight started off the same, until the Draugr screamed out, "Foos!" But somehow I knew the word meant force. I couldn't explain it. I had never learned a word of ancient Nord language before. Anyways, when the Draugr shouted the word, it knocked Guldir on his ass and staggered me back. It was a tense fight. Guldir was knocked down twice, and in both cases I taunted the Draugr to come after me so he could use a healing potion. After we killed the Draugr, I once again looked at the curved wall. I could hear chanting. As I approached the wall, my vision became blurred and dark around the edges. One of the words on the wall glowed blue, and I instantly knew it was the written form of Foos. "What kind of ancient power is this?" I asked Guldir, but he shrugged, completely unaware of the glowing word. We left the barrow and stayed the night in Riverwood. Apparently the Golden Claw belonged to a local store owner, so we gladly returned it. We then headed back to Whiterun and gave the stone to Ferengar. That's when a dragon attacked. Irlaith, the personal housecarl to Jarl Bolgriff, led Guldir, myself, and several city guards from the city out to the western watchtower where the dragon had been spotted. I immediately headed toward the tower to get some high ground. But before I could reach it, I heard the roar of a dragon. It swooped down, lighting the fields on fire as it tried to burn the soldiers. I continued to the tower and found a couple Whiterun guards already there, hiding in fear. I told them reinforcements had come, and we needed to kill the beast. With newfound encouragement, they helped me loose dozens of arrows at the dragon. Eventually, the beast was exhausted and wounded enough that it had to land. I could see Guldir in the distance lead the soldiers at the beast, attacking it from all sides. We continued to hit it with arrows from our position, and Guldir drove his axe into its skull. We hurried down to help the wounded, but the body of the dragon was drawing me to it, much like the ancient word wall in the barrow. As I approached it, swirls of light flowed from it towards me, and the dragon's body began to burn away. After a moment, the dragon's skeleton was all that remained, and I crouched on my knees, overwhelmed with an energy I had never felt before. Guldir and the other Nords started saying I must be the Dragonborn, a warrior that has the soul of a dragon written about in ancient texts. They asked me if I could shout. Indeed, even though I had never done it before, I knew how to shout Foos. If it is true that I am the Dragonborn, then it would not be good for me trying to be inconspicuous as I continue to serve the Aldmeri Dominion, but maybe this would be useful to them. Regardless, I headed back to Whiterun. I decided to avoid the court wizard and anyone else that would be of importance. As we entered the city gates, a couple Redguard men were being told to leave by the Whiterun guards. I pulled them aside and asked what the problem was. They were Alikir warriors from Hammerfell, seeking a fugitive, a Redguard woman. Considering the Aldmeri Dominion never gained control of Hammerfell, the thought occurred to me that maybe she was a fellow ally to the Thalmor. The Alikir left the city, and I dismissed Guldir, since I didn't want him following me on this particular quest. He said he'd stay at the local tavern for a couple days if I needed him. It didn't take me long to find the Redguard woman. She was actually working in the tavern. Her name was Sadia. She invited me to a back room where she pulled a knife out, threatening to kill me if I handed her over to the Alikir. She claimed they were agents of the Aldmeri Dominion, and offered me a lot of gold to kill them all off. So I set out early the next morning to the cave where the Alikir were staying in. But they told me Sadia was in fact an Aldmeri Thalmor agent. They wanted to capture her and take her back to Hammerfell. I was so confused. I thought it was even possible they were both lying, and neither were working for the Thalmor. But I knew one thing. If I killed Sadia or the Alikir, that would be a rather permanent end to the quest, and I didn't want to accidentally kill a Thalmor ally. So I decided my best play was to join forces with the Alikir and capture Sadia. They were honest with their claim of capturing her alive and paid me well. I immediately sent a letter to my contact in Imperial City, explaining the situation. So if Sadia is indeed a Thalmor ally, they would hopefully free her soon. I had thought the situation with Sadia and Alikir was a difficult one for me as a Thalmor agent. But oh, how I was mistaken. Apparently, word of my dragonborn status had spread. Some locals needed help rescuing a Stormcloak soldier, Thorold Greymane. They believed the Thalmor had him as a prisoner, and that the Imperial supporting family, the Battleborns, had something to do with it. During the day, when the Battleborn house was empty, I picked their lock and searched the house. I found a letter from Imperial General Tullius to one of the elder Battleborn men, claiming Thorold was indeed in Thalmor custody. So at least the Battleborns were not directly responsible for his capture, but they also weren't helping out the Greymanes. I didn't know what to do with this situation. I've always hated the Thalmor, and only allied myself to them because of their pledge to protect Valenwood and my fellow Bosmer. But maybe, just this once, I could help out. As inconspicuously as I could, I met with the Greymanes and told them of my desire to help. I contacted Goldir, and we all headed to Northwatch Keep, where Thorold was being held. After traveling for a few days, we finally arrived. Just after sunset, we assaulted the keep. It was a brutal fight, and it was obvious the Thalmor never expected to face an attack. I kept my distance, using my bow, and keeping my hood up so I would not be identified. Eventually, we found Thorold, starved and weak from being tortured. He had lost hope in the war and didn't want to rejoin the Stormcloaks, but he knew he couldn't set foot in Imperial territory again. So I told him to go to Riften, the city loyal to the Stormcloak clause, with no shortage of places to hide. And I decided to join him. I had already spent quite a bit of time in Whiterun and Falkreath. I said goodbye to Goldir, who said I could always find him near his family's tomb if I needed his help. As Thorold and I arrived in Riften several days later, he thanked me for my help. He hoped the war would end soon, so he could see his family again, but until then, he could not risk going to Whiterun. Riften was quite a scummy place, dirtier than Whiterun or Falkreath. The guards were just as dirty, accosting visitors at the gate for gold to get in the city. I didn't want to create a scene, so I paid the price. Despite being dirty and full of unsavory folk, there was a fun atmosphere to the city, lots of love everywhere. What happens in Riften stays in Riften. Of course, there was a Temple of Mara in Riften, so that's probably why. Right away, I got asked to help a priestess of Mara with 3 different love stories. The first was in Riftenhold in Iverstead, but the other 2 were far to the west, beyond Whiterun, so I figured to wait on those ones. I ventured to Iverstead, at the base of the mountain where High Hearthfire is, the home of the Greybeards. There, a woman named Fastred wanted to leave for Riften with her newfound love, Bassianus. But the man she was previously previously with, Klimek, wanted her to stay. Both seemed to be good men, but Klimek was old. He used to climb High Hrothgar to donate to the Greybeards, but was getting too weak to do so anymore. So I advised Fastred to leave with the much younger Bassianus. Her dad was furious, but the mother supported my influence. As I left Iverstead, heading back to Riften, it dawned on me how lonely my life has become. Would I find love here in Skyrim? A Bosmer so far from Valenwood? I didn't know, but at the least I would consider it, once my mission here was complete. As I headed back to Riften, I came across a group of men at a campfire. Apparently, their family's fort had been taken by bandits while they were off fighting the war. The leader, a Nord man named Stalio, asked for my help. If I can infiltrate the fort through a hidden tunnel and open the gate, then the rest of the men could easily take the fort. Otherwise, storming the front gate was suicide. I put my potions of invisibility to use as I entered the tunnel, and it was a good thing I did. There were a couple of bandits in the lower level of the fort that would have kicked my ass. They appeared to be quite formidable, including a mage. I opened the gate and readied my bow as Stalio and his men charged the fort. It was a brutal fight, and after one of Stalio's men died, I let out a shout, yelling, "Foos!" It seemed to encourage Stalio and his men, while disheartening the bandits. Stalio was an impressive wizard in his own right, and really put in some work clearing the bandits. After the fight was over, I said my goodbyes and headed back towards Riften. And that concludes where we're at. So far, of course, I was a little behind on the previous one, and so I had to catch up on In My Time of Need and Missing in Action. Plus, I have some of the main quest stuff that I'm intertwining into this roundtable character, which is kind of giving him a decent narrative. It's kind of like a Dances with Wolves avatar thing. We got somebody of one culture or race going to a foreign land and starting to kind of get wrapped up in the culture there. So that's kind of a narrative that I'm going to follow. So I'm going to try to limit my player knowledge in influencing his decisions, of course, but I will use my player knowledge to kind of help him navigate through the broad strokes of where he's headed, and just kind of see where everything ends. Skooma. Yeah, I did kind of throw in a little Skooma reference in there about the philosophy of what it means to kill a dragon or a Draugr for a second time. I actually have, of course, the official Elder Scrolls cookbook. I did share, I think, a picture of it on Facebook group, and I do have my first batch of Skooma currently infusing. Takes about 3 weeks, so by the time I do my next recording, I'll be able to do a taste test. I don't want to reveal the specifics of the recipe out of respect for of course, the cook and the team that put that book together. I highly recommend getting that book. I had kind of low expectations on it. Not low, but middle of the road expectations. But I am very impressed with the recipes, from all the spices that they teach you to make: Imperial spice, Stormcloak spice, all the breads and stuff, and the entrees, the desserts. Yes, there is totally a sweet roll recipe, and I'm definitely going to be making a sweet roll. And of course the beverages like skooma and a couple different types of meads that'll take 3 or 4 months to prep. So next time I do a recording, I'll be drinking some skooma. The base ingredient in the skooma is vodka, which I would think skooma would be a rum personally. I don't know what you guys would think on that, but it's there's obviously some sugar in that. The vodka and the fruit that I'm infusing with it per the recipe is apricot, but I'm also planning on trying some other types of fruit. So I'm kind of curious what fruits you think would be a good mixture in there. I'll definitely do blueberry, and I was thinking apple and an apple cinnamon kind of skooma. But yeah, other than that, a lot of fun with this roundtable again. And and then regarding the houses, that's a lot of fun putting those together. On my previous playthroughs, when I was doing the Hearthfire houses, of course I would build the house outright, but with this Lakeview Manor, I'm like, no, I'm just going to keep that as a small little shack in the forest. It's much more fitting to the character as just a safe house for the Thalmor. And it was so much fun killing Thalmor on that one mission, because he's got his hate for the Thalmor, although he kind of needs them to protect his religion and his people's way of life. So it's going to be a fun journey with this character as he proceeds through his story. Anyways, I'm rambling on a little too much, and I know there's other fantastic feedback to get to. I really like the one guy that brain farting on his name. He did the voice modulation for the orc. That's a really, really cool idea. So looking forward to hearing the continuation of his orc's story. Other than that, guys, take care, and I'll be recording later. Bye.
I do like the journal format, I must admit. I like
too.
how he's approaching it, like sort of a bit in character and stuff. I got props to Kenneth. I mean,
yeah,
I enjoyed doing a character like that too. So
I wish, was it Corbin who had the great one last time in character? I'm sorry I didn't follow through with that. But anyway, the OP thing that I was thinking of, now that we've listened to Kenneth, he talks about Ordinator's alchemy tree. Mm-hmm. And I have to say I kind of grudgingly agree with him.
Yeah.
But I really like having that experimenter perk there at level 30, because it's way too far in the other direction
on the vanilla. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I'm torn for that reason, right? Like, I mean, if you stick with the vanilla tree, it's sort of like you can take a few perks. Like maybe if you eat more, the chance of you doing it increases. And like, I got to get to like 95 alchemy before I know the second thing or the third thing. This thing
exactly.
Does. But I mean, again, like I've complained about armor a lot of the time. I don't necessarily have a proposal for a better way, so I'm going to be guarded in my criticism. But yeah, there's got to be a healthy middle ground in there somewhere. Like, come on, like by 50 or 60, I should be able to see all 4.
Yeah, I think
right
when Ina Sheon, conceived Ordinator, at least from what I've read of the things that he's written about it, he wanted to get rid of a lot of those tiered, perks. There's so many of them in the vanilla game. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4 levels and it's tedious. So I think that was his impetus behind doing that with the experimenter perk. Maybe it would be better if there were 2 levels for that. Starting at 30, and then maybe you get the second 2 at 45 or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But I have to say I've used it to my advantage on numerous occasions. I go to, because it's really not that hard, and I think that's the thing. If you're using an alchemy, even if you're not using an alchemy mod, the vanilla alchemy, there you can. There are some potions that aren't too hard to find, notably Blue Mountain Flower and Hanging Moss, that will level you up really fast. So you can get to 30, and just by creating a few really expensive potions. Maybe that's where the issue is. It's not with where he placed the perk; it's with how things level.
That could be too. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't lay the entire blame at his feet or
it's a mod.
Yes, at the mod's feet. I mean to say, for the way that certain people will play the game.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you and really, like, if I wanted to sit down and like just speed run alchemy because I think that's fun and I want to take advantage of the 30. I mean, well, like the early way to get those bonuses. I mean, fair enough. But for say the person who's not like an alchemist with their hair on fire to be the best alchemist in Skyrim in 5 minutes, then maybe 30 is not so unreasonable. And there is sort of some logic behind it, I guess. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's worked. I mean, I'm creating a character right now that I'm going to start doing videos of after I'm finished with Hannes. That he sort of comes to Skyrim as a semi-skilled alchemist. So the low level of experimenter really worked well for that character. And he's become, with all the practice sessions I've done with him, it's the first time I've actually created a character that really uses alchemy completely as a weapon, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. It really is. Not just pickpocketing potions into people, but really, really using poisons and things on swords and arrows, and it's just a lot of fun. And that speaks to something else that Kenneth talked about with and thank you, Kenneth, for being in love with me. I appreciate that. And then not being in love with me anymore, that's good. That's cool too. But Hunterborn is a great mod. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
But some of the ingredients that it adds, and you get more and more of, like wolf teeth and wolf hearts and things like that, make superb poisons. So
there's a subsection of alchemy sort of in Hunterborn, like added by Hunterborn, and I think if you're using Complete Alchemy and Cooking Overhaul, there's some synergy there too. With the Hunterborn ingredients.
Yep.
I wanted to pick up. I have something quick to say, and then I want to pick up on the Hunterborn. Just a technical point, Michael. I noticed that we're currently off air. I don't know who's disappointed by that, but and for those of you in the future listening on iTunes, you don't care.
That's weird,
right?
Small technical first. And while poor Michael figures that out, I'm gonna grab the conch.
I don't think there's a way. So as long as we're cooking here, we're all right. I got it recording.
We're recording.
So,
That's good.
Yeah, recording's showing.
So Hunterborn, I want to pick up on Kenneth's comments about Hunterborn and the Green Pact, because dedicated fans of the show may vaguely remember me referring to my own Green Pact based, Wood Elf Ranger who saved the tree for Earth Day, and so on and so forth. Yeah. But the way that I address, he talks about how he loves Hunterborn, and then all of a sudden he ends up with this just plethora of meat and has a real difficulty dealing with his Green Pact commitments, right? So I have two things to say about that, because I noticed that initially as well. Like, oh my God, I got a lot of bear here, Don't be afraid to lower the meat drop options in the settings. Like, I went down to sort of like conservative or whatever. You could even set it to a single cut. Because, I mean, equally, like, you're probably not going to get 120 steaks off of a dead horse if you skinned it in real life anyways, right? So
Right.
don't be afraid to lower that. And the second thing I would say is that my take on the Green Pact was that it's all motivated by, we cannot allow this to be wasted. It is a sin against nature for it to be wasted, right? So using it is the key. You don't have to eat it. You could cook it and sell it and somebody else is eating it and it's not wasted, right? So and that's like, I did a bit of research into the Green Pact. I did about a half a dozen books on that, maybe a few more. So I feel like I'm not even trying to like give him a sort of wiggle room reason. I really feel like that's the interpretation. I mean, do you think every wood elf is going out and hunting their own food? No, of course. They have a division of labor in their society, just like any other. So that was sort of my take, was that I would sell the excess. I lowered the hunter-born meat drops, but I really felt that if you're going to play a ranger and even have that feel of being a wood elf, even Green Pact wood elf, I really felt hunter-born was a good mix. Obviously, you could go down the quest that you get. I mean, Namira's rot, I guess. Like that's the truest. That's the truest Green Pact impersonation. And what's easy about that is you just sort of, you feed on them, but you don't get like human steaks in your inventories. So, but yeah, like I feel his pain. And anyways, just if he's listening, those are sort of my workarounds.
Also, I think the Green Pact, it can be safely played that the Green Pact really only applies in Valenwood. It doesn't. I think. Wood elves outside of Valenwood aren't required to follow the Green Pact.
Listen, you apostate. I don't need to hear.
I'm fine with being apostate. I have been all my life.
Fantastic.
No, at least that was my understanding of it. Yes, I like his role play a lot. I'm interested that he's using the bear traps also.
Oh yes, I forgot. Yeah.
He didn't really talk about that a lot after he mentioned it at the beginning of his thing, but I'd be interested in hearing, Kenneth. I'd like to hear more about how you're using the bear traps.
Strategy wise.
Yeah, I've tried. I haven't used the bear traps. I've tried the tripwire perk. And that's kind of cool. It's funny too. It makes for some funny moments. But it's hard to. It's like there's another one, and I forget which tree it's in that Ordinator adds, called Elemental Oil, that you can sort of drop a little pool of oil. It always feels to me like I'm kind of having an accident on the floor, but and the pool of oil lasts for X number of seconds, and you can ignite it or set it off in whatever way you want. I find those perks hard for me to use because I just forget, or I don't have enough twitch reflex anymore to remember to use them. But yeah, I'd like to hear how he's using those.
Yeah, I think the build that he's gone off, he's talking about sort of sneaky archer style in this particular case. I think that's pretty ideal for traps because you're always going to sort of try to lay the land first. You're going to survey as an archer. I mean, to call out a friend of all of us, like Stu from Couch Warrior. I mean, he did a fantastic playthrough of a Thalmor archer. And an ex-Thalmor, but just to like watch him just methodically, plot out, survey the land, pick his targets, get them in positions where. So that's the mentality when you're a sneaky archer, right? So the idea of being able to lay a trap in a certain spot, I mean that's going to flow really nice. Now, if you're Colin and you're just rolling in there with the biggest thing you could put two hands on, you're probably not setting up your traps ahead of time because you'd probably step on them, to be fair. But I mean, the one bear trap that I love more than any other is in Halted Stream. I pick it up off the barrel and I always put it in that narrow point in the tunnel that leads down to the room where the bandit chief's in. And I just throw that first arrow out there and set everybody on fire. And then I jump over it because I know it's there. And it usually catches somebody for me just about every time. So
that's a good idea. I've never actually, it's funny. It's one of those little things that never occurred to me was to actually pick up the ones that are actually in game and use them.
Yeah, I just E and carry them, and you got to be careful though because you can spend a lot of time fooling around trying to make it the appropriate flat. It's got to drop properly and so on and so forth. Like I've actually made enough noise to be discovered while trying to set a trap more than once.
Oh god!
But it's neat. So I'll be interested, like you. I'll be interested to hear more about how he's applying it. So
Yeah.
I do want to call him out. He tagged me fairly, I guess, for making some snide comment about Sneak. Now, I imagine
he called you nitpicky. Yeah.
I imagine. Well, okay, fair enough. I imagine that's true, and I'm sure he could point to the episode where it is true. But I say a lot of things. But I do stand by that. Sure, fair enough. I mean, just natural Sneak's pretty good. Although I would qualify that by like really run up the right side of the tree, get the 3 times ranged attack, and then you can abandon Sneak if you're an archer, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But yeah, like fair play. I'm sure I mumbled about that a couple times, right? So.
Well, he also is making recipes from the Elder Scrolls cookbook.
It's true.
Yes,
and that was super interesting.
That was perfect timing. I was just handed a wonderful cookie. As we just started talking about the Elder Scrolls cookbook.
I believe the technical term is Horker loaf, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. It looks good. Yeah, so he's talking about what skooma would be, rum, this, that, the other thing. Yeah. I'm gonna go against the grain here, and I think if I was in Skyrim, it's basically fruit juice and whatever their version of magic mushrooms is, right? I mean,
that's a good point. Yeah,
I mean, like it's a hallucinogenic, it's something tasty to make it go down, and then like you eat. It's like you play Mario, right? You eat the mushroom and you get big.
Well, just in case anybody who's listening to this hasn't seen it yet. Zero Period Productions and Al Chestbreach, 2 YouTubers, have been working through the Elder Scrolls cookbook.
Oh, nice.
And making a lot of those recipes. They made the skooma, they did sweet rolls, they did something else, but they've been doing it on videos.
Nice. I'm going to drop the gauntlet here right now because I know that clearly these people listen. I want to see Skyrim Epic Mealtime. That's what I want.
That would be excellent. Yeah, for sure. But with the skooma, I was surprised it was vodka based. Also, like he said, that didn't strike me as a vodka based drink at all.
Well, most coolers are, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
it's the alcohol you put in something that you don't want to taste like alcohol.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Or actually, more to the point, I feel like skooma is probably like the alcoholic energy drink of Skyrim. You know what I mean?
The Four Loko or whatever it was.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, although everybody seems really slow on it, right? That skooma den, everybody's kind of like.
Well, it's like an opium den.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah. Skooma is the opium of Tamriel. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's like hopped up running around in circles. They're all like.
Doesn't it slow down time for everybody else? What are the actual in-game effects of skooma? I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm such a loser.
I don't. Me too, because I never use it.
Yeah, I don't know. I never actually drink it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have no idea.
I'm all about hugs, not drugs, gentlemen. That's just that's the way she goes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I adopt orphans because I have a soft spot for like little girls who are poor and starving, apparently, and I don't do drugs.
Yep.
I've killed a lot of people, but I mean, there's a line, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's all right. That's all right. Just don't drink the skooma.
Yeah. And to answer his point, I actually want to have a very short roundtable about this, if you will. Are you technically killing a Draugr, like Kenneth asked? I thought that was sort of amusingly philosophical, Yeah,
are you killing them, or are they just? Well, they're undead.
You're definitely killing them.
Because
they're killing zombies. Yeah, you're killing zombies.
Well, they're reanimated, but are they alive?
See, I feel like my wife did a reading for the show about a female magician who went in and did research and eventually got to the point where the Draugr would recognize her and leave her be. So in the lore, there's some sense of them having sentience.
Okay. So then they would be somewhat alive at least. Yeah.
So here's the question that I will bounce back to Kenneth. Maybe you're killing them, but have they been alive, trapped in this decaying body for millennia?
And then you're
is it not in a certain case a kindness?
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Unless you really like being a Draugr and serving your eternal dragon priest master or whatever. But I'm freeing them. I'm freeing the ancient Nords. I mean, I'm in there doing the good work.
Yeah.
Well, my sense that Draugr is that the Draugr were sort of voluntary guardians. Isn't that the lore? Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they're reanimated to serve dragon priests. I can't yay or nay that it's.
Well, they're not dragon priests. No, the Draugr are simply followers of the dragon priests, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're sort of the reanimated guards is, I guess, the initial, and then they just sort of become ubiquitous in Skyrim because they're an easy, scalable enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think
the word Draugr wasn't invented by Bethesda. I mean, it's a word from Nordic mythology, as far as I know.
No, they borrowed from Nordic tradition for Skyrim?
Certainly not.
Certainly not. Yeah.
Neil Gaiman is most displeased that they're messing with his American gods copyrights. Yes,
yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know what the original Draugr were supposed to be, whether they were a kind of zombie or what. But
well, every culture's got some sort of back from the dead story, I guess.
Yeah,
probably has roots in like, let's keep our dead far enough away from the town so that we don't get sick. But yeah, you go through any mythology, it's there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was an interesting question though, but I like the take on it of they're kind of trapped in there and you're freeing them. Especially, especially when you're taking, because you can capture their souls, so there is something there, metaphysical within this game anyway, where you're trapping the soul of whoever was the Draugr at one point.
No, see, I prefer to view it as freeing them from their desiccated prison, and giving them a chance to live just a little longer to exact revenge on they who put them there. Because they're going to charge my sword, right? Clearly, this is what this is about.
Perfect.
I'm helping them find peace and vengeance. It's a twofer.
They're going into that gold ring I'm going to sell to Balthor for $150. Or 150 gold, sorry. 150 gold.
Nice.
So another thing from kind of saying and I have done the quest numerous times. The Torald and Northwatch Keep. I can't remember the name of the quest, but anyway, was that an improv with Torald going to Riften, or is that a dialogue choice?
That's a good question. I don't recall.
I thought it was a cool idea, but I don't remember it. I thought he just sort of runs off.
I thought so too, but maybe there's a choice.
So, no, that's a great piece of role play. Then I just don't remember. I don't remember that. It was a great excuse for him to get to Riften. It's perfect mechanic.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, like, we just sort of let the NPCs exit stage, right? Most of the time, right? But if you follow them, some fascinating stuff happens.
Yeah, like Louis Latrush, he just sort of dies, right? He dies over at that fort that's not far from Riften, right?
Have you freed the Imperial prisoner on the way to Whiterun, like right after sort of the initial part of the game? Like, you've gone through you've gone through Helgen, you get to Riverwood.
When they're walking down the road,
right? I read a blog post by a guy who, he sort of pickpocketed him wherever to give him a weapon before he freed him, right? So he's there in his raggedy robes and he's got like some ebony longsword, and that's it. So they fight, they win, and then he's like, okay, but like I gotta help this person get home. This guy runs from Whiterun barefoot to Windhelm.
Wow.
Follows him the whole way, has to save his life repeatedly because the guy's aggroing everything along the way, right? Everything that like his faction programming would teach him to fight, right? It was like multiple gaming sessions for this guy to get this prisoner who went just back to Windhelm and then wandered in and I guess became a Stormcloak again or whatever. But I wonder, so like if you followed Tovald, where would he go, right?
Yeah, good. Probably Windhelm. That's
or Riften or whatever. Yeah, the case.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Well, Kenneth will have to answer that question when during his next.
Yes. Yeah,
I've never met anyone who didn't keep Nettlebane or who kept Nettlebane. I've never met anyone who did that. Or I mean, didn't do the tree or the sapling option. Like he wouldn't even cut the tree. I thought that was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Yeah, that was nicely done.
Nice dedication to the character, I think. There.
I have used Nettlebane, but I've always sort of completed the quest one way or another, whether it was for the sapling or you know. But yeah, he's really sticking to the role play really well. I like that.
Yeah.
And I like the way he talked about, you know, his feelings of his character's feelings of loneliness when he started the Mara quest. That was really cool too. No, he's really getting into it. I'm really enjoying it. So
and Goldir, he's right. That guy's a beast.
I love Goldir. Yeah. He is one of my top 5 followers, along with Elrondr and Janasa. Goldir is my Hearthfire character's primary follower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a close talker who blocks doorways on a regular basis.
Yes,
but
that's for sure.
He has personal space issues.
Yeah,
yes.
Personal space issues. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll go with that.
No boundaries.
Yeah, none at all. Yeah.
Although my own experience with Hearthfire turns out he's a fantastic baker. Every time I go back to my Hearthcraft house, I find him baking.
Oh, really? Awesome.
100%. That's what he's doing with his time. He's baking. He's not out. I have a perfectly functional smithy and all the things, right? He's baking.
Good for him.
I think that's fantastic. You know what I mean?
I should send him back to Aunt Agna and, you know, to guarding that. But
yeah, your take on that whole section was really good. I really liked the way that you approached that with Hannes and like sort of the respect that you showed and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was very
putting her in the yeah. That's something I feel very strongly about. Yeah.
I thought that was a good piece of RP there too. I quite like that.
Thank you.
Because you would, right? Like, I mean, you wouldn't just like flip her over and empty your pockets right in front of her like living nephew, right? I mean, you would have some respect, right? Like,
yeah, true.
Yeah. Of course, I think I robbed her and muttered something about how she wouldn't need this anymore, anyways.
Yeah, no, I started doing that a while ago. Whenever I do that quest, I always carry her out into the main barrow there and put her in one of the coffins. She deserves the respect.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Goldir's fantastic. He really like punches above his weight, I think, especially when you first get him. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
No, he is definitely one of my favorites.
And is he technically essential?
Well, I
always say come with me. Is he still marked as essential? I wonder.
No, he's never essential. In fact, he can die during the quest.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and he shows up as optional protect Goldir during the quest in the vanilla game. So he can easily die if during the fight with what's his name, not Malkaran,
Valsverin, I think. Maybe no. Is it?
Malkaran is the other is the Meridius Beacon thing. I've had him die on me a couple times. But of course, I use follower mods, so as soon as I can, I will set him to essential.
Yeah, I get invested in my people. Like if I have infinite lives, effectively, like through the magic of reloading, my character essentially will live as long as I want them to. Which is to say, as long as they entertain me and I don't get bored of them. But like you are effectively like a being immortal in this game, right? So I mean. Sure. I want to tag my favorite companion to kind of go with me. I mean, there's something interesting about maybe like untagging them near the end of your preferred quest line, because that would add a little bit of drama. Like, do they make it? Like in good sort of 3-act play, like somebody important's going to get it near the end to add gravitas. But yeah, I'm quite content to.
I think that's perfectly. You're right. I think that's perfectly legitimate, and it works well in a role play if you sort of plan it well. I think. That's hard. It's a hard choice to make, though, and I've never, like you say, since your player character can resurrect, infinite number. This is not a roguelike game, so then why shouldn't your favorite followers be able to as well? So I have no compunctions about setting any follower I want to essential, because I'm notorious for killing them if I don't. So I'm I have to.
Yeah, and I find I get genuinely attached to some of them, and
Yeah,
you'd be surprised, right?
Yeah.
But God, I don't know who it was. I lost my mind when my dog died.
Yeah.
in my whatever Dawn Guard playthrough, that was legit. I wasn't doing that for the camera. I was like, no, I got 2 dogs at home, right? And Sailing bites it. I'm like, no, that's not good. Or there are other ones where just I find I'm strangely, I won't go off on too much of a tangent here, but I find myself strangely connected to certain people in the world. They'll sort of say or they'll do something. Or I mentioned Lucia, right? Well, there's just, even before I had my own kids, there was just something about that. Like you poor thing. I don't know why she in particular, just the tone of voice, the way they've modeled her, whatever, but she really sort of got to me, I've talked more than once about Ulfberth Warbear as someone that I have really sort of interesting sympathies for after playing enough and seeing his character in various situations. And there's a few more that I can't think of off the top of my head where it genuinely pains me if they sort of die, or I'm not working for them in the quest to get levels and the reward. It's this every once in a while, in Skyrim in particular, but in a number of games, just, a character will really ring true as human, for lack of a better term, and will connect with you in some way. So
yeah, well, Alvor is another one. It always upsets me if he gets killed by a dragon or something like that. In Riverwood. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's very easy to get invested in their lives. I mean, Michelle talks about that in her feedback about Uthgerd.
Yeah,
she lost Uthgerd, and Uthgerd's another one of my top 5 followers, and I remember when I was playing on the 360, and if she got killed, I would absolutely reload the save. There's no way I'm going to move on with it, so
the 360.
Yeah, I finally it's in the landfill now.
Is it?
Yeah, I finally
come on, Victor. It's almost done with this loading screen. Bring it back.
Yeah, I know, right?
Plug it back in. You're almost ready to play.
Yeah.
God, I'm actually looking at a 360 right now, which I need to get rid of. There's really no reason for me to have, because everything, backwards compatible, all that. So
yeah, it's all. It
doesn't make any sense to have it laying around.
Oh, whatever. Sell it on Amazon 10 years from now as a classic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, but 10 years from now there'll be a 360 mini like there are with the Genesis. It was just didn't they just come out with a mini Genesis or?
Oh, there was I think they did a Sega one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean has the not the Genesis because that's not out yet, but he's got the little Nintendo.
Yeah. The
NES minis and
yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's funny this arc that our technology's taken, right? Starting in the 90s, it was just bigger. I want the biggest screen TV. I want a projection. I use my whole wall. And now it's down. It's become Zoolander, right? You have these teeny tiny little phones that have like a 1-inch by 1-inch screen, and so on and so forth, right? Although I think the phablet is just awkward for me. I don't want to carry that in
too big.
A holster, holster on my. If it doesn't fit in my pocket, you might as well be a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. The weird middle ranges are no good for me.
Yeah. Let's see.
Although I do read on my tablet all the time. I'm a big Kobo fan.
Oh,
it's holding a book in your hand again. It's fantastic. Sorry, I interrupted you, Victor.
No, I'm looking at my notes here, so I think I covered everything about Ken's feedback there. Yeah.
Well,
I like how Goldier was like, no, just let him go.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
Just let him run. Everything will be fine, Grail.
That was so nicely done. And yes, and I love just standing there and listening and waiting to see how Arvel dies.
Arvel, yeah,
because he can die in so many different ways, right?
Yeah, not quite swift enough, mister. I think that's false advertising, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite is hearing the because that trap, the spike trap down there. It's a little farther down.
Yeah,
you can hear it. The hinge squeaks, so you just wait and listen for that hinge.
Yep.
Yeah. Splat. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he always gets it in the end.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
I'm usually somewhat inexperienced when I go through Bleak Falls Barrow. I've yet to refine my use of fire magic.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I tend to accidentally
burn
barbecue.
him. Yeah.
I'm trying to free you, but I don't know. I'm a rookie. I only got a couple levels here.
Yeah, that's generally what I do. Yeah, I'm like burning the webs off and just keep burning.
Although I've never forgotten this. One of the first times I did that, just by sheer happenstance, I skilled up off of them.
Oh, really?
Because I was just at the threshold of like doing damage, and like, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to do this, okay?
That's a nice little bonus.
That's right.
Well, there are 2 fire scrolls in Bleak Falls, so that's the way in vanilla anyway. That's the way I usually kill the Death Lord at the end is with those fire scrolls.
Is there? Have I missed those somehow?
Yeah, there's one on a shelf, and then there's one in when you go through the second to last loading door. There's one on the altar right in front of you. Yeah.
You know what? I think I just always forget to use the scrolls. You know, I get them in my inventory.
You gotta load them up and get them ready, and then but if you time it right, you can pretty much take down about half his health.
That's true.
With the first one.
I feel like in Oblivion I use the scrolls a lot, and then in Skyrim I never used them.
Yeah,
I don't feel like there's a lot of bottlenecking on magic in particular. So like the need for scrolls to sort of like expand what you're capable of as a magician, I mean, doesn't feel as urgent to me as like say some other games.
True.
I've used them occasionally. Well, often to my detriment because like they go off where you are.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases, right? So
the AOE is around you sometimes, but also they're great early on if you don't have a lot of magic skill, and if you can time it right, because they do take a while. It's like a master spell, right? It takes a while to actually ramp them up. But yeah, later on, if you have a lot of, or if you're playing a scroll / stave.
True. Yeah.
Then that's kind of cool. That's a tough role play.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Arcane Rogue would be good too. Basically give yourself a way to sink most of your skills into the more like sneak thief type stuff.
Yep.
You're going to be standing back anyways.
Yeah.
And like that might be a nice opener when your tank is run in.
Yeah.
Lay down some big damage to start, and then you kind of go back to blades or
one thing. There's an advantage. I meant to mention this earlier. I think that's what I was trying to think of earlier. We were talking, and I don't remember what it was. It had to do with vanilla. Grinding. I think Stephen, you mentioned Andrew, and it reminded me just sort of shout him out a little bit because I've mentioned him before. Major Slack, really good YouTuber, and he does everything in vanilla, no mods at all, and all was on legendary. And he's got a lot of really cool not exploits, just because he doesn't do exploits. Never no glitches, no exploits. It's all vanilla mechanics.
Yeah.
But he's not doing like resto pot loops and stuff like that.
No, none of that stuff.
Okay,
It's always stuff that's available and usable with the normal game mechanics. None of those exploits. And some of the things, especially early game when you're building a character, he's got all kinds of really cool crafting loops that you can use to. But one of the things that he pointed out that I never realized, coming back to staves, is that for instance the staff of Storm Atronach, you can cast a Storm Atronach farther with a stave than you can with a master level.
Oh wow,
conjuration spell.
I did not realize that.
Yes,
I bet it's faster too.
It's probably faster, but it's also much farther down. So on a lot of his builds, he'll grab that staff of Storm Atronach, or actually create one at the Atronach Forge, and use that as a stealth build. And So that's kind of cool. But anyway,
That's
Major
really
Slack, Major Slack Attack he has 2 channels, and one of them is a Skyrim only channel.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like intelligent play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's always nice to learn sort of what the exploits are here and are, but there's just, for all the cheating that I've done over the years, I'm not a big fan of cheese. Like I'm okay with like straight up cheating. Because look, if I want to like have 95 in alchemy, I could just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. Like I'm not gonna waste an hour like running around in circles, at the alchemy table naked with like 6 pieces of gear. I mean, I'm just gonna, whatever. I mean, fair enough. I mean, if you're playing, on a non-modifiable platform, that's fine. But there's a difference. I agree between that and just like intelligent use of the environment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or just like, and that's going to be born of experience. I mean, he's going to have learned these things by playing and, sort of just figuring stuff out, like making these connections. And one of the things that I always like to do is like, I never finish games because I play with them. Mm-hmm. What can you do? What's possible? Blah, blah, blah. Right. So I definitely admire someone like this gentleman who's sort of taking that similar approach and figuring out what are the unintended consequences of doing these 2 things. I think that's really interesting. So
yeah, I really am super interested in the idea of using staffs and scrolls only. I never really considered that for some reason, and I don't know why.
I've never done it, but I thought about it. But it's a tough build to do.
Yeah, it's like seems very challenging, and especially vanilla would be challenging because you can't.
The right perk to bring that down, like the ability to recharge stuff, or to increase the recharge rate of soul gems and stuff. That would be helpful. You're going to want to run up like whatever, probably destruction in most cases, but you're going to want to be mindful of having the appropriate skill set to keep your cost of use down.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing that would keep me off. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying you can't make scrolls. That's the negative.
Without a mod, no.
Yeah,
you can
without a
with some
mod,
mods, but yeah.
But they are purchasable, right?
Yes.
In most cases.
True,
I mean,
Yep.
So it would be about like how you would use them. I imagine like when you kick the door down and start into the tomb of the evil whatever, you're probably staving most of the way. Mm-hmm. And then like for your sort of lieutenants and your bosses, this is when you're bringing out your scrolls. Yeah. I think I'm going to kind of land a little bit on Victor's side of the fence here where like, even if I hotkeyed them, I would probably frequently forget.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, because I suffer from that. Like, I favorite everything. Like, my favorites is it's ridiculous. It becomes my spell list. And, I might need to cast that one time and just hit the middle mouse button, right? So I think that would be where it would be. I would end up with just like peanut butter syndrome, in the sense that like, forgetting that I had all these different scrolls and what's useful in what situation. And there's a bit of rock, paper, scissors in Skyrim with like, you want to use frost against melee people and fire against undead and, whatever. But yeah, I think that if you sat down and really thought about it, I think you're onto something, Michael. It'd be really interesting. Okay. So what's your story? Like, why is your ostensibly magical character leaning on implements instead of,
the background of that would be that he or she is not magical in any way.
No innate ability.
Yeah.
Are you willing to take the hit on not developing a magic skill for that? Like not putting perks to increase the recharge rate of soul gems, not putting time and effort into say destruction or conjuration or whatever to increase the amount of charges you get? Like, is that how you'd imagine playing a character like that, Michael?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go on it. 'Cause I'm trying to think how I would do it vanilla. You know what I mean? Because that makes it a lot more challenging, for sure. Because you would need to fill gems, and you would need to acquire scrolls, so you would need money.
Well, as you level up in the world, you gather higher level filled gems. Anyway. So
yeah, that's true. You do get higher. Yeah. So you would fill them faster. Yeah, I guess early on would be the challenge for acquiring scrolls, like enough scrolls to get through something and enough gems to get through things, Would you be using other weapons? Would you not?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the soul gems, I immediately think of what we all probably have done often enough is just you find or create your first sort of soul trap weapon and you give it to your companion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's totally fair, right? Like if I'm the person on the team whose job it is to call in everybody and just like double smash them with a double-ended sword, why shouldn't that be a soul trap weapon? Like, you're the melee guy, you fill soul gems basically through melee, off you go, right? Like that's how you're contributing. So you can break down that role a little bit. Scrolls, that's interesting though, the early game bottleneck, because they're not cheap or overly plentiful.
Yeah, I mean, you get them, but it's not like you're getting enough to, battle your way through a dungeon.
Well, if you have the Steed Stone, you're bringing home an extra 100 pounds worth of loot.
That's a good point. That's a lot of scrolls. Yeah, that's a lot of scrolls.
It might have to be sort of paired up with an alchemy build, perhaps.
Where you could,
because that's sort of the hedge mage kind of background, isn't it, Steve? I mean, it's like a very low level magic user.
I think of it as practical magic versus high magic.
Right. Isn't that sort of the crux of a hedge mage?
Yeah. No, well, I always thought a hedge mage was just, untrained talent.
Yeah, I guess
I know that term and I know it exists in the real world, but I only sort of experience it through fantasy novels. So it's often like a derogatory term applied to someone who didn't go to whatever magic college or school in the book. Right?
Yeah,
I think it's the difference between sort of the local wise woman and Merlin. The local wise woman is the alchemist, is really the beginning of proper medicine and science and stuff like that. And Merlin is accessing the Fey lines and channeling eternal energies or whatever. Excuse me.
Cool.
Yeah,
but to tie back to Skyrim, the scrolls, that's a good one. That's a good one.
And I think mixing alchemy does make total sense because they're both like you're using practical real world items, I guess, in a sense. Yeah. That's
I wonder if there's some interesting synergies there. Like, are there particular potions that might, like, say, enhance your destruction ability for a period of time, so you're getting more out of your staff? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if those two work together or not. There's certainly fortified destruction potions, but I don't know if they actually
work with the staffs. Yeah, I'm not sure
or
either. Actually,
yeah,
I don't know if it only works with the actual magic mechanic in the game as opposed to those two.
Yeah.
It's something I never really explored.
That's a good one though. You got my brain turning there.
Yeah, I'm like, I might start a new character just to do that now.
That'd be fun.
It's totally interesting. That's like, I don't know. It's one of those things I never even thought, never popped into my head for some reason. But
we had. If you bring this up, but I got to tell a very old Dungeons and Dragons story very briefly. In high school, I started playing D&D with my best friend and some other people, and he rolled really poorly on his intelligence. It came out to like 3 or 4. So we had this giant, childlike, very friendly sort of fellow who could crush your head with one of his hands, right? And for those who are Dungeons and Dragons fans, you'll know what the Wand of Wonder is. For those who are not, it's basically a magic item you acquire in D&D. Whenever you use it, you roll a 100-sided die and a random effect happens, right? So Mo, which is what he was named, he was not smart. So when he would get to a point where like he was caught in a bind or there was a challenge or a situation that he just couldn't mentally process, he was aware that his wand would change things. So he would bring out this magic wand and sort of utter whatever word made it go. And, so the running joke became is that the rest of us ducked. But like, there's something about that idea of Skyrim. Like maybe you're not so intelligent. Like maybe the Dragonborn isn't all that much of a smarty pants, you just have this innate ability, but you're
tell that to Body.
What's that?
Don't tell that to Body.
Yeah, Body. Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
No, fair enough. But just the punchline is like maybe one of the ways to approach that character is it's someone who's just like not so smart, but so like you don't have so much magicka and blah 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 blah. That you can have fun with this idea that but like I'm not an actor, but I could read a script standing on a stage, right? Well, I'm not a magician. I mean, I can read the words on this scroll though, right?
Right.
So as long as you're just smart enough to be literate,
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Like that would be sort of maybe the why of it, because you just don't have the innate ability to access it on your own.
Yeah, you have to have the actual practical spell in front of you to be able to do it.
And if you get confused by a certain situation, you just set everybody on fire.
Yeah, yeah.
And then something changes, and we're out of that situation into the new one, right?
Yep. Yeah, I wish there was a scroll mechanic like vanilla in the game, though. That would have been pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think No, there wasn't one in that. Because I feel like that would have been something to have at the College of Winterhold. I feel like that's missing there.
Yeah, like the Atronach Forge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty ubiquitous across RPGs. Like usually it's a gold cost, or you've got to be near the level to cast a spell or whatever, right? There'd be some reason, but is there even like a reliable merchant? Like I know you can get a number of different things off different people based on their school. That's where you get your masters of spells. Yeah. But is there a good sort of scroll person, or you just?
I don't know. You can buy that. I thought you could buy them from pretty much any of the court wizards. Farengar has them.
I think so. But I've never really bought them, so I never really noticed how many they had or didn't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're overly priced. I think that's part of the problem.
They're expensive, and I'm usually just selling them off, and I never even think to like how would it work if I had to buy them.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely make the economy balance last a little longer. If you had to buy the spells.
Although from immersive patrols, if we were going to bring a mod in, you will get all these interesting merchants wandering around too.
Oh.
Like I found just jewelry merchants, I found just alchemy merchants, so on and so forth. It's one merchant escorted by a few guards. So I mean, it's random luck to find them, but I wonder if there are scroll merchants added by that game, because that would be interesting, right? Like you've got an apothecarist, you've got a general merchant, you've got a smith. Why wouldn't there be a scroll and staff or like a magic item type merchant?
That would make total sense.
But sometimes those merchants get killed, and you can actually get some pretty decent loot off them too.
It's a shame what happens to these honest, hardworking folk on the dangerous roads of Skyrim. It's true.
Yep.
The roads are dangerous.
Scallions everywhere.
Yep. It's a big, tough world out there. Yeah.
That's it.
Man,
all right.
I don't think we've ever had a deep dive on scrolls. That's weird. I can't wait to do a playthrough with that now.
The redheaded stepchild of Skyrim.
Yeah. Really, they kind of are. Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh man. All right. Well, so while we're on Hearthfire stuff, episode 3 we have our quests, and episode 4 we have our quests. So if you go to ASAPodcasting.com, the Skyrim Addict part, and click on the Hearthfire link, Hearthfire Roundtable link, it will take you to the Google Doc with links to all the quests for each episode. So episode 3 and 4 is going to be Windstad Manor, and that is, of course, Morthal is where you're going to have to get access to that land to build Windstad. And so for episode 3, we're going to do Laid to Rest, because I believe you need to do that to be able to buy the land, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, at least you have to do it in order to trigger the right dialogue.
Yes.
With Idgrod. Yeah.
Yep. And then to become Thane, there's multiple random quests: chop wood, delivery, things like that. For to go to Morthal is a specific one, but the other ones are the usual stuff you find in town. So you help 3 people generally to become Thane. And then we had Fallon's Secret, which I don't remember what that is off the top of my head for some reason. Some of these were smaller because we had some big quests.
Yeah, Fallon's Secret is just going out and surprising him at his little
summoning
hideaway out in the marsh there, and
to let the Jarl know what's going on. Yeah,
you're right. Yep.
Dragon's Payment Delivery. That's probably just a fetch quest. Let's see. I'm going to click on it. Payment Delivery is another one, but I think that's just in town. The quest giver is Pactor. So you speak to Pactor and deliver a message to Bryling about late shipment. That's all. Nothing really exciting with that one. Because there was a couple big quests. I think that's why we had all these little ones. So there's the Dragon's Breath Mead, which I think is just another delivery quest, if I'm not mistaken. It's the same person, Pactor. You agree to deliver. Oh, that's weird. I think, you know what? I think I put the wrong link in that one because it just took me to the same quest. I double copied a link there. Sorry about that. But Dragon's Breath Mead is another quest, and Lost to the Ages we were going to do in this one.
That's the big one,
which is the bigger quest.
The Dawn Guard.
Yes,
that came in with Dawn Guard.
Yeah, the Ethereum Wars. Yeah, Arcanthasm, Arcanthasm. So we all know that one pretty well, where you can get the crown, the shield, or the staff. But it's a good long quest line, and I'll help you gain some stuff to build Windstad. Although you're pretty far from Windstad when you're doing that one, oddly enough.
Well, it ends up in the Rift.
Oh yeah, it does end up in the Rift. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the last stage of it is in the Rift.
Yeah, you kind of go all over the pretty much cover a lot of the map with this quest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then our last one was The Ghost of Old Roldan, which I have not done in a long time.
Neither have I.
Gosh, it's been a really long time. If you sleep at the Old Roldan Inn, and then you speak with the ghost and recover a sword.
And he calls you Hjalti.
Yes, which is the sword you're going to recover.
And so I mean, I assume most people know who Hjalti was. Maybe not. I don't know. Hjalti is Tiber Septim.
Mm-hmm. Because you sleep in his bed, or a bed that he slept in, I should say, not his bed specifically. But yeah, that's an interesting quest that I haven't done in a long time. Interesting little story quest. And it's a random dungeon you go to, so it's not a specific place you go to find the sword, I believe. Yeah,
it's sort of a radiant quest, I guess.
Yeah. Well, where the sword is radiant, but obviously Old Roldan is where it is. So that's our next episode 1. And then 4, we're going to do the Forge Master's Fingers, Forbidden Legend, Lisbeth's Missing Shipment, and Eric the Slayer. Also The Straw That Broke, Bow to the Master, and Under the Table. Sorry, that was on the next page. Cool. But we can talk about those in the feedback episode next one. So
yeah. All right.
I gotta get on playing what's that, Lost to the Ages, because that's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
I gotta play the episodes or the quest for this episode for telling each other the truth.
Yeah, I'm way behind because I've been working on Hannes' story. So yeah. Yeah, we can talk about that.
I was just glad to hear that, I wasn't the only one. Kenneth starts off with like Bleak Falls Bear. I'm like, okay, good. I'm not the only one. Not the only one. Yeah. No, we all have lives that occasionally impact our addiction, I guess we should say.
Yeah, that is the problem. Yep. Yeah. Even though I was playing on the Switch, I didn't play it much while I was traveling, and I wish I had. Wish I had hopped into it a little more. That was supposed to be the benefit of playing on Switch.
Oh well,
I blew that.
Yeah, now you can ignore your family when you're on vacation too.
Exactly.
Just carry it on your 50-miler this weekend.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll have a lot of time to do something.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot of time to kill.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So I don't
see. I do no fast travel on that, and I would like run from one side of Skyrim to the other while I'm running.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
And it's not too distracting because you're really just holding the button in one direction, mostly to get the person to run.
Right.
Race across Skyrim.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. Oh, there's got to be a way to do that. Anyways,
God, yeah, if you could both start in the same place at the same time and race to a different, that would be fun.
There's got to be a way to do that. Like, we have to be like a time trial. We'd have to make like, you got like sort of like Amazing Race style. Like, you got to hit a few things.
Yeah, you got to go through certain towns.
Okay, so let's table that. Let's put a pin in that. And so instead of the next round table after this one's done, we'll do like a Skyrim Amazing Race, like a Skyrim scavenger hunt. And one of the ways you win is by doing it in the shortest period of time, right? Like, because it'll track your time down to the minute, right, in the game. So
yeah,
we can do some sort of like Skyrim scavenger hunt, like marathon scavenger hunt combo, like get from here to there to there to there, gather these 6 things. Anyways, that's
an interesting idea. Oh God, I think I like that idea. Man, now I'm all stoked.
And then it could just balloon to like the Skyrim Olympics, and we'll have to figure out how we would do that. But
the Skyrim Olympics, yeah. How much can you carry?
I'm more interested in the foos toss.
Yeah,
How far can you get the targeting dummy? That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, how far can you blast like a cheese wheel off the wall?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. A lot of potential for fun there.
For sure. Well, I'd like to thank Michelle and Kenneth for the feedback.
Absolutely.
Big jumping off points there. And now we have new builds to do. Everybody's going to be playing scrolls and staves coming up. Or at least I am.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
There's going to be all this horrible, angry feedback of, this was the dumbest idea you guys have ever had. It's so hard and expensive.
I feel like it's a challenge. Yeah. I can't. I'm actually super excited to do it. So,
no, it's interesting. But that's like vegan level challenge, right? Like,
yeah,
in your 360 days. Like,
God,
be really
yeah.
Interesting.
Oh my God, yeah. On the 360, that was pretty hard, actually. Especially when you don't really know what stuff is made of, and have no way to mod anything out of the game. Which I wonder if that's
because I feel the danger there.
Oh, I was just gonna say,
you end up falling back on a melee weapon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah. But unless you're a Khajiit, then you just use your claws. Instead of falling back on a melee weapon, just use scrolls, claws, and staves. There's always that.
Oh, there it is. Yep. There it is. Yeah, there it is.
But so how's the book clubs coming along? Still on high? Did a hiatus,
okay?
Right?
I do have an answer about that. Apologies. I will mention that briefly. So yeah, I totally missed my deadline. Apologies to everyone. I'm now working 2 jobs. No, I work 7 days a week now. I'm trying to break into the public service. I got a contract, but I got to keep my weekend job just in case. Blah blah blah. So, anyways, that's enough excuses. You didn't come here for excuses. Here's what's happening as of right now. Google Play is updated. I've actually moved with Buzzsprout, same host that we use here at ASA. Quite good, quite competitive. I'm happy with them. Google Play is it's current. It's Skyrim Book Club. There's 150-ish, maybe 200 episodes. I hit the wall pretty early for what I can upload.
Okay.
I'm going to pay for the overages over the next little while just to get it all up there.
Just to get it.
The one thing I would say is that they're a bit disjointed because I'm like bulk uploading. Like I just sit down and I drop episodes till like my eyes cross, right? But I guess because they all sort of like a lot of them will end up uploaded like within 1 minute of each other or whatever. So I've tried to archive them like so that all the books in a series are one after the other, right? But Google Play's messing with that a little bit. So I would say, bear with me. Once the whole archive's up, I'll go back and I'll I'll rearrange some of the stuff. Like I'll do the archival work later. But right now, I want to just sort of take advantage of just dumping them, getting everything back up there.
Get it back.
Because of course I couldn't migrate my feed because the whole problem was that my RSS feed stopped working.
Oh, so you couldn't even migrate it. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm uploading like 800 episodes one at a time.
Oh man. Yeah. Because if you migrated it, you could have, all those would have went up for free. That you migrated.
Yeah. But of course I wouldn't be with Buzzsprout if my previous RSS feed was working.
That's a fair point too. That was something we ran into. Yeah.
So that was a bit of a surprise. To be honest. So that slowed things down a little bit, and just other stuff too. But I'm not going to blame technology. I should also just sit down and do it. But as for iTunes subscribers, I fought with them about changing my RSS feed. I finally gave up today, just before the recording of this episode. I deleted the podcast and resubmitted it. I expect it'll be accepted within the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Sadly, this means, pardon me, this does mean you'll have to go look for Skyrim Book Club
again
and resubscribe.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll be the same thing over the next few weeks or whatever. You'll get these big dumps of like 20, 30, 50, 100 episode drops, so on and so forth. We'll catch up. Of note to people as well, sort of the last bit of housekeeping, I guess. Arcanium Edition no longer exists.
Okay.
The only reason I did that was because I'd kind of hit the max of my one feed and wanted to find a way to keep going. Buzzsprout's fantastic. It's much more stable. I think we can all live with the idea that Skyrim Book Club can be an umbrella term for Elder Scrolls books.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I'll probably stick with continue with like the Arcanium Edition introduction, because I do like Urag sassing people. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, so it will be like, for anybody wondering where Arcanium Edition went, I don't need 2 feeds now. I feel it's smarter just to like have it all in one place. And really, like, that's where the listeners were anyways. Arcanium Edition did okay, but pound for pound, the downloads were still coming from SBC anyways. So I think that's probably the smartest way to do it. And last but not least, I still own the rights to skyrimbookclub.ca. They give you a free website at Buzzsprout. How about that?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I'm gonna figure out how to like basically paper over my URL onto the free site. Like, you can change the name, but that's not the same as telling the person that owns your domain name where to go. So, or if there's someone really smart in our community, well, everyone in our community is smart, but if there's someone who's tech savvy in our community who wants to email me at skyrimbookclub@gmail.com and says to me, Steve, I can do that, and you only got to give me a few bucks to do that, I would entertain offers like that to just, get GoDaddy to stick my URL onto my Buzzsprout site.
There you go.
And I would rather just throw money at that than throw my mouse at the wall. So, I all reasonable offers considered. Here we go. So yeah. So that's the roundabout way. SBC, it's back. It's about 150 episodes. It should appear on iTunes in the next day or two. It's on Google Play. We do have a website coming. We're gonna get there, and then we're gonna continue. I've not given up. I do like it. I do want to continue doing it. But, I got lucky for like 3 years and homered my way through this basically. Yeah. And then it came to the point where I really needed to have some tech skill. And there's been a bit of a curve. And, I don't know.
It's the learning curve. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't be burning the midnight oil as much as I was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not working 7 days a week. You can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it may turn for the best, but I'm a bird in the hand guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to take too much risk. I mean, when I was single, sure, but I mean, I got kids now and blah, 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 right? So the bank does not care about my ambitions. They just want their mortgage payment.
That's a good point.
That's it.
That is true.
So yeah, there it is. That's Skyrim Book Club updates. I may even tweet again in the near future. It's possible.
Oh God, I always forget to do that too. I know. Oh, speaking of feeds, 10AD has its own feed now. So if you, it is starting at episode 1, and it will be releasing bi-weekly, and it will just be a bi-weekly release starting at 1. It will remain where it is here on with the rest of the Skyrim Addict show feed here, and in Patreon you're way ahead of where we are here. So there's that. So.
I like that. I want to see how that does just as an actual play podcast. I'll be really curious to see how that performs.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea, to open it up so that more of a D&D crowd could find it, and not just specifically Skyrim crowd could find it.
Cool.
I think that made sense,
I'd be interested to see what comes of that. Yeah.
And of course, the open world, Victor.
Yay!
You have a URL now.
Yep, I am the open world on YouTube. Yep.
There we go.
Yo, you did it, Mom! You did it! Look at that! Fantastic.
So I just I released episode 9 of Hannes's story about a week ago, and I'm working on episode 10 now. So in which he meets his mom and several mods that I created. So
awesome.
That's ongoing, but he's way behind where we are in the round table, but. So
I have a pretty long commute now, so I'm looking forward to catching up. I got about an hour each way, so I just play that.
There you
that'll be
go.
a great way. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, that's good.
All right.
When are we gonna do the next episode of with the first series of?
That's a good question. I assume either the 19th or the 26th. We're gonna have to schedule that out.
of May or June.
Or were we thinking end of May? Is that what we were thinking?
I don't know. We'll
have to.
Yeah.
Because I know Ray was traveling.
Don't say it on air because Kenneth will hold you to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe June. I don't know. We'll see. Either end of May or June. Everybody.
Yeah, the next 10AD is early June sometime.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you haven't listened to 10AD and want to start from scratch, just go to the 10AD feed and in iTunes, and you can link. I'll put a link in the show notes, and you can go direct to that. So
yeah, cool.
It's just Skyrim 10AD. That's what I'd be searching for.
I think it's listed as 10AD, a D&D adventure in Skyrim.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe that's how the feed is listed. I'm gonna have to double check that, but I'll link to the. I'll just link to the RSS in the show notes too. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
good one.
Thank you,
and thanks for all the feedback, everyone.
Always fun.
Yeah, please send more.
Yes,
everybody, give us more.
Definitely. Later, everybody.
All right. Good night, y'all.